Hey, welcome everyone to the Dusty Wheel. We love having you here again for another special Sunday afternoon episode with our special guest who we'll introduce here shortly. But I want to remind you this upcoming Wednesday, we'll be having a special live episode all covering all the Amazon Prime announcements that they give us with everything that's all come out before. And we're going to have a special guest, Tom DeSimone from the DragonMount.com YouTube channel. He'll be with us here on Wednesday. Now, that being said, I'm really excited to have the ladies from the White Tower podcast here with me today. I met them at JordanCon, and ever since I met them and others, I started wanting to get to know more about the podcast they were doing and started listening. And as soon as I listened to their first episode or two, I sent them a tweet and I said, hey, I really want to have you on the show. So without further ado, let's bring in Jess and Jenn, the Amyrlin Seat and Keeper the Chronicles of the White Tower podcast. Hey, both of you, welcome and thank you for being with me.
Hi.
Hey.
Well, why don't we start off? Let's just get into it. Why don't we start off with a toast, and I'll leave it to you, Jenn, to do that.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let's
I'm
do
ready.
it.
One,
One,
two, three.
three. To the rumor mill.
rumor mill.
That worked out.
That works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is the Dusty Wheel, right? It's the rumor wheel. It's where we like to speculate and talk all about the Wheel of Time. This is a live call-in talk show for everyone that's here and is new. We won't take calls for the first probably about 20 minutes. I want to get to know Jess and Jenn a little bit. I'll let you know when it's there. We'll put a little banner up at the bottom, and then you can give us a call and you can ask them questions. The only thing I would ask is that you be very respectful to the guests and that you don't call and troll us. I'll just drop you at that point. So,
and I'll cuss you out. So.
Yes, exactly. And maybe that's why you're going to call, because
everybody wants to get cussed out by the Amyrlin Keeper.
That is true. That is true. That is one thing I did feel when I saw that first episode. It sounds like when I did a little investigation on your episodes, you began this in September of 2018. Does that sound right?
Yes.
From what you remember.
Yes. September 19th, 2018 was when we dropped our first episode.
Now, the description of that one says, find out how they got into fantasy as a genre and the Wheel of Time in particular. Just come and have a giggle with us. So that was my first, interaction with it. Was I started listening and I did start laughing immediately. That's my interaction with the show. Just I laugh so much. What is it that fans tell you? And why is your podcast kind of resonating with Wheel of Time fans?
I'll let you answer. Jess, go ahead.
Okay. I think the sort of overwhelming consensus, and people say it in different ways, but I think the consensus is that we have a kind of vibe that makes people feel comfortable, like they're sitting down with friends having a really, genuine, unscripted discussion about the books. And that's, I feel like I don't think we consciously went into it saying, okay, we're going to make this like a really super genuine, casual kind of conversation type of thing. It's just that Jenn and I are both people who are so unbelievably incapable of being anything but ourselves that's just the way that it turned out. So, but yeah, I feel like based on what listeners have said, that's really kind of the draw for them is, the sort of casual, friendly, comfortable kind of conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Jenn, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I can say is the biggest compliment when people, talk about listening to us is they say, I feel like I'm sitting down with my friends. I found like my long lost friends I can talk to, even though I'm not talking to you. I'm listening to you talk about it. And I feel like I'm in the room with you guys. Like, I feel like I'm laughing and like part of the conversation and things that I've thought before, but I haven't voiced aloud to other Wheel of Time fans. I'm able to feel comfortable that, okay, I'm not the only person that thinks XYZ. Jenn and Jess do, and it's okay to think these things, and it's okay to laugh about some parts of the book. So that's kind of what we've been getting. That's it.
Now you weren't friends before this, right? As far as I understand, you kind of met to do this almost, right? You want to explain that to kind of the viewers, like how did this come together?
Jess?
So, okay, I finished the very last book in April of 2018, and I had a lot of feelings about it. I had so many feelings. And so I screamed out into the void of Twitter for a processing partner, and Jenn happened to be like trolling the hashtag, and she's like, "What's up, bitch? What part are you on? Let's talk." And so we started basically 3 straight days of just screaming at each other in all caps about just how unbelievably unsatisfying we found a lot of the ending of the series. And then we just sort of became, online Twitter friends in the way that people do when you find like-minded folks in those social communities. And then I don't know, I think it was like late August. I was thinking I love podcasting. I had a podcasting shaped hole in my heart. And I just one day was sort of idly thinking about how much fun it would be to do a podcast with Jenn. And I was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And I was not expecting her to be, yeah, fuck yeah. How do we start? Let's do it right now. Right now. Now, knowing her the way that I do now, she unreservedly and enthusiastically throws herself into everything immediately. So if I had known her better, I would have known that would have been, it would have been the outcome. But yeah, she was totally on board, and I already had some technical knowledge about it. So like 2 weeks later, we dropped our first episode. We didn't really fuck around. We went for it. So
were there, did you have at least for me, I don't know, this is, I've been talking about the Wheel of Time online for a very long time, but this, just talking, doing this live show, and I would imagine the podcast, were there any nerves involved? Jenn, was this kind of a natural thing for you, or was this the first time you had kind of run into podcasts?
First time running into podcast, anything. I don't know. I still don't know. I'll tell you. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just having fun. And Jess is kind of guiding me along. But I'm starting to get a little bit more. But I didn't have any problems speaking in front of people. Like I'd done like a little bit of theater in my background and stuff like that. So, having an audience listening wasn't necessarily a bad thing to me. Most people can get nerves through that. My only nerve situation is, well, I don't really know how this is going to go down or be received. But then again, I lost that feeling of how am I going to be received by fans in like 2 seconds, because I'm like, oh, well, that's good. That weeds you out. If you don't like us, then that's fine. I guess you're going to find out in 2 seconds whether you do like us or not. And then issues will resolve themselves in time. So I could just accepted it and spoke freely. And I like that. I like the fact that during the day is not about Wheel of Time for all of us, right? We all have different jobs. We all do different things. We all have familial engagements. There's a lot of other things weighing down on us. So I use this time with Jess proactively. I'm like, okay, now I can sit and actually nerd out and do the things I'm passionate about, and have, like Jess says, a processing partner to do this with. And I have a friend, and it could be fun and exciting, and I'm just gonna let go about all these emotions that I feel for an hour or so, and then come back next week.
Let's be real, it's like an hour and a half to an hour and 45.
Do it the same way again.
An hour and 45 minutes.
So tight. Tight. So yeah, that's the process.
Well, Jess, one of the things that I think strikes me funny is this synapse. Where did this idea come from? Was it named after you did it, or was it something that you went in planning to do?
I was a dumbass and said it wrong one day, and then said, no, this is how it is now.
That's awesome. Because it works so well. The fact that you ran into that just casually is because that is definitely how I would call it. It is synapse. That's
great. There is a generous amount of sass in there. It was just kismet. It's just one of those little happy accidents that turns into something really funny that then the listeners start to identify with and associate with you, and just one of those fun little running jokes.
Jenn, can you give us for those that might not know, that are kind of viewing this maybe later, right now, that just haven't heard of you before, what is synapse? How would you explain it?
Synapse is like a synopsis of a chapter, but Jess and I put our little spin on it because, first of all, let's be real. If you've picked up a Wheel of Time book, you don't even have to have read it before. If you pick up the book, it's thick, it's huge, it's lengthy. So if Jess and I have an hour show and we're covering 2 chapters and then having debate about it within that hour, or like Jess says, hour and 45 minutes worth of time, you've got to shorten what transpires in the book to get to the meat potatoes of what Jess and I really think about what it is that we've just read. Yeah. So synopsis, obviously within itself, the context means like a short version, but Jess and I put our own little flavor in it with a little bit of modern language every once in a while. Like we talk about things that are just kind of silly that characters do that a younger audience or, you know, a more technologically savvy audience would understand. And then like, okay, now that we're done with this, so what do you think about Rand doing XYZ in this chapter? And then she'll be like, well, I disagree, blah, blah, blah. And that's really, so we have two parts to our show. The serious kind of part where is the synapse that you're discussing.
Except for like your solid gold friggin' rants.
And
she'll start going off and it's just like, I just sit back. I'm like, solid comedy gold, go.
And then Jess and I have a diatribe about what it is that Robert Jordan wrote about. So you've got to do both, right? We have to deliver both. We have to deliver content because we're doing a chapter by chapter summary each week. So that has to be there, unfortunately. No, I'm playing. And then the rest of it is just left to just being silly about it. Or there are some serious parts too. We talk about being silly, but there's a couple of realizations that we've made each other understand that if left to ourselves and our own devices, I wouldn't have known. Like Jess has made me see eye-poppingly a couple of things that have transpired already, and we're only in book 2 out of 14. And I'm like, oh my God, when I just read this chapter this past week in order to do this podcast, I didn't realize this happened. And she goes, yeah. And
you do the same. You do the same for me.
It's a back and forth, and you get to hear real time someone who's already loved this series. Someone go, oh, I never considered that, because she and I don't talk about how we're going to do things until we get on air, and it's a genuine reaction.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I didn't realize that you didn't necessarily collaborate on that. That you just brought that into it. Okay, I like that a lot. Is something coming to mind? And you mentioned this. That you have these realizations like live in the moment. Is there one that like over the last book or two? I don't want to put you on the spot here, but for either of you, is there kind of a realization that you had live that just kind of sticks in your mind that you can share?
Yeah, but it's slightly spoilery.
But no, this is
saying the
if you're watching a live call-in talk show all about the Wheel of Time, everything's a potential
I suppose
spoiler.
it's an inevitability.
It's inevitability.
Right. I just want to make sure.
So for anyone that's watching, maybe mute for the next 5 minutes or something. But yes, there's going to be some spoilers, but it sounds like it's going to stay within the first book or two. So, well anyway, go ahead.
My biggest realization that Jess made me realize is when Rand meets the Amyrlin Seat for the first time, when he goes in Feldar to meet Swan. I mentioned this to you that Varen was actually just as like, she was shielding Rand the whole time until Rand walks out, and then she actually wipes sweat from her brow and is like, oh my God, he's so strong. She's not talking about the fact that, he was able to face on his feet like a man. The fact that Swan said, you are the dragon reborn, it wasn't even that realization. She means strength in the context of his ability to wield Sidene. Like he is a very powerful male channeler. He's strong. That's what she meant, because she was shielding him the whole time. Because Jess made the point, he's not just going to walk unshielded to meet with the Amyrlin Seat. I mean, they got to contain the boy somehow. They got to protect her.
It's not going to happen. Right. You're not walking into that room unshielded. It's not going to happen.
So
isn't that fun to kind of pull back? I mean, this idea that Jordan had that in mind, right? That he's not spelling it out necessarily.
Right.
He does sometimes hit you over the head with stuff, right? I mean, you go through the first like 14 chapters and you're like, this is who you're going to meet and this is what you're going to do, right? Like it's a really funny kind of like slap you in the face. You just don't realize it's happening. But he also has the subtle side.
He's handing out a tray like, here, have these fantasy tropes.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because then he like messes with them, and then subtly he kind of hints at other things, and it's not till the time you go back, like the second time you go through, and you're like, oh wow, he told me this was going to happen, and the third time you go through, you're like, oh wait a second, they're doing things here that he didn't explain that are now very obvious to me because I've learned. You're almost learning his material to know just how deep he goes, which I love.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned about this, because I love the series, I love fantasy in general, but I have read the series twice. I've gotten all the way through, halfway through Winter's Heart twice. The rest of it I've only ever read once. And so this is technically my third read through. And one thing that I'm learning as I'm doing this is that Robert Jordan never puts a stray word in his book. He never writes something that he doesn't mean. It's never a throwaway. He does it for a reason. I don't understand how a person's brain can operate at that level.
Yeah.
Where in book 2, you're dropping this thing and then you pick it back up again in book 13. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why does your head work like this? This is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things that is just really kind of blowing my mind about the whole series. You know, I'm kind of discovering that as I go along. Unfortunately, I can't think of any way that you have blown my mind. In the last episode that we dropped, you blew my mind, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was.
This point of reading it over and over again, I've read it enough that I think I'm discovering things as I read now that I know I discovered before. I just can't remember it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm like reading something going like, this is amazing. And I know if I went back and looked to, you know, some of the forums I wrote on, I would not be surprised if I thought it was amazing 10 years ago when I read it. You know, it's like, it was amazing back then, but it's just this almost a rediscovery. Every time you go back through, there might've been something you keyed in on, but it just feels new almost every time. The material is so large that people are like, why do you go back and read? And it's because it does. You're discovering new things, but you're almost rediscovering things, and you're reappreciating. Yeah, I don't think you can say that word. You're appreciating them again.
Well, and I think especially for people who've been on board since the very beginning, the folks who have waited for the next book and the next book, and have done the reread while they were waiting for the next book, and you know, it's been decades, and so it makes sense that a point that you may have picked up on at one point, it fell by the wayside while your brain got filled up with other stuff, and then all of a sudden you pick it back up again. Like with the sheer amount of time and the volume of material, like I am positive that you're not the only person who experiences that.
Right. So now we kind of get a little bit of feel for what the show is like that you do and such. How did you come to be at this point? I guess, did you think you were going to be as, I don't know, I'm going to say this word and maybe you won't agree, as famous as you are? I saw the White Tower podcast was mentioned by Tor.com, right, recently in an article. How did that feel? Like, Jen, like, what was your reaction when you woke up and you're like, Tor.com just told people about us?
I was like, well, first of all, I'm like, they listen to us? Like, why? No, I'm playing.
No, we kind of texted each other like, yo, what the fuck?
Did they pay someone to sit in some dank cell? Like,
who did that? Why?
All right, I guess I gotta go. Just type in Wheel of Time on Spotify and see if you can find some random person. No, I'm playing. That was a joke. So actually, no, that was really cool. I freaked out. I cried. I was like, this is legit. This is the people that published the Wheel of Time book series.
Yeah.
And but honestly, one of the things that was really cool about it was the fact that not only they mentioned us, but the people that were mentioned along with us in the list.
Yeah.
There were a couple of others that I was like, oh man, these are really good podcasts that weren't there. But the other ones that we were in good company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel really happy the fact that a lot of these people that are there with us, we either consider us friends, or we've either collabed with before, or they've asked to collab with us, and we're in really good standing. It more than even the fact, oh, we got on the tour thing. I really felt a sense of community. I'm like, okay,
cool.
We're seen, but we're also represented with other people that are being seen too. And I feel happy and comfortable with the company that I keep. That's really what I felt.
And kind of going off that as well, you know, to a certain extent, I think that I have not processed it. I'm just I'm like that meme with the dog sitting at the table drinking coffee with just the fire everywhere. This is fine. That's kind of how I am with sort of the fact that people seem to like us. And, but, you know, looking at the other podcasts that were listed with us, I was flattered and honored that we were, you know, sort of put up with other podcasts that are well respected in the community that we also have a great deal of respect for. Some of whom have been doing this for a really long time, like a really long time. And
we're still new,
we're babies. Well, we're toddlers, I guess. But it was just really, it was a huge honor and just really flattering to be in that company. And then also like, wait, they know we exist.
Yeah.
How? Why?
Yeah,
because I honestly, I can't speak for Jenn, but when I started this, I did not expect that anybody would listen to this show.
No, we were doing it for that reason.
No, we did this for fun.
We're going to talk about these books that, I mean, yeah, they're very popular and very famous, obviously, but it's like, I don't know, if people are going to listen to two chicks talking on a podcast about these fantasy books, like, but that's fine. We're just going to go off. But I think that's kind of the appeal, is that we are literally the same people on and off the mic, no matter what, and we just genuinely love these books, and you could just pick up on that, I think, as a listener.
Yeah, that's the oddity, right? Like they kind of they throw you out there like, this is amazing, and you're thinking, I mean, people know who we are. Yeah, but it's awesome at the same time, because obviously it creates some momentum. Your audience is getting bigger. Have you noticed that your audience is expanding? Are you the community is growing in that way? What's your overall I don't know, goal isn't the right word, but where do you want this to go? Or like, where do you want this to be? Or you not even have that thought? It's just like, we're just keep doing this until the end of the books.
Well, we talked about how long that's going to be. Mathematically speaking, it's going to take us like 7 years if we do a week at 2 chapters a week. Max to do this. So if you just break up 14 books into 2 chapters a week, we'll be doing this for a long time. So sit back, everyone. Get comfortable.
When we first started, I did the math, and 2 chapters a week, over however many chapters. It's going to take us, if we don't miss a single episode, if we do not miss a single drop date, every Wednesday without fail.
Yeah.
We'll be done in 6.5 years.
Sheesh.
We already have missed several drop dates, and we did not take into consideration the fact that the chapter for the last battle is a novel in and of itself. Right. I'm going to say it's going to be a decade at least, but for me, I feel like the goal, and I don't know, I don't think that we've ever even sat down and talked about what like an overarching like purpose is. We have a vision, I think, at least for our community of listeners, but as far as a goal for the show itself is to just sort of keep producing something that people like, that makes them laugh and have fun, and eventually finish it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And for a decade. Maybe that's one of those things you just take a week at a time. That's a huge commitment, right?
Yeah.
It as far as it involves your lives and your families and such, I wanted to bring this up. My wife has been involved in my fandom now for 2 decades. So, and I don't know if you have spouses, significant others. Have you, how have they been affected by this? In other words, are they just, this is amazing? Do they get involved? Do they read the books? I'm just kind of curious, what their role is.
Chris is extremely supportive. He has not read the books. So he's one of the people that I'm thinking of when we're doing our recordings, because I'm like, the only way that he's going to know these books, it's kind of wild to think about as a content creator. He's not going to read the books on his own. He's only going to hear what I have to say about them. So during the synapse, kind of going back to that, you have to try to treat at least that portion of the podcast with respect and gravitas. Like, okay, we're gonna deliver information in a modern format, but a fair format, and then we can joke around about it in layman's terms afterwards. Because there are people like Chris that won't read the books, and the only way they'll ever experience this whole entire fantasy world is what we say. So that's a daunting prospect. Anyway, to getting back to what they say, like, he'll make my little workstations for me. Like, he'll make sure everything's quiet and the dog's taken care of, like every single week. He'll be reminding me, hey, you need to go on at this time. He'll make sure the house is quiet. Like he just does everything for me, and then he'll listen to every episode and he'll give like nice feedback. He was at JordanCon with me taking care of the dog and doing things while we were there. He's taken off work. I mean, just extremely supportive, very supportive.
That's awesome.
Rich has done much the same. My workstation is left to my own devices because if he touched it, I would be like, wait, where did you put all my stuff? But he's extremely supportive about me taking the time that I need to edit and do stuff on social and all of the sort of, day-to-day minutia of kind of trying to run and promote something like this. He wants to read the books. I'm going to get him set up on Audible, I think, so that he can listen on his commute because he really wants to, but he also likes to sit in his recliner and watch TV. So
sure.
And play on his phone, which I do the same thing too. I don't read as much as I used to. But yeah, he's been, and every time I've delivered some kind of like exciting news, he gets more excited than I do sometimes. Just like, wait, are you serious?
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
I'm like, I know. What the fuck? And just generally taking time out to say that he is really proud of me and he respects my dedication to the production and just generally basically giving me every resource that I need in order to be successful, which means so much because, it takes time to edit and upload and stuff like that. And I can't imagine what it would be like to try and do that if I had a partner who was like, why do you have to be doing that? Why can't we do something together? That would make it hard, so. Yeah,
it's a huge part about it, right? Like this is, beyond just reading the books, now you're making a synapse about the books, and then you're getting together and talking about those books. Then you're producing the content and putting it out there. Just from the 2 months that we've been doing the show, for example, I've had a hard time just keeping up with, like, to actually watch any other Wheel of Time content and then somehow kind of just handle life and jobs and such and then do the show. That's just, it's full. And so it's really cool. Like you said at the beginning of the show, I was explaining kind of how my family gets involved in this. And yeah, it's a family affair, and it almost has to be to do it successfully, right? Like, especially with the commitment that, like you're saying, 5-10 years, this might be, in the end of the day, like it's really cool to hear that they're so supportive, because it could be the other way. Right. So now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and it's, I feel like we're both really lucky because, especially as the show has continued to grow and become more popular, sometimes people get intimidated or jealous or just generally, feeling some type of way when their significant other ends up having a really successful endeavor or something like that. And, I think we both did real good when we picked our ones because they're not like that at all. They're like, they both do whatever they need to do to support us. And that's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife, I remember asking her if I should really do this. I've done other things in fandom, and for so long that she, that I don't know, I kind of was like, maybe I just, maybe that was then. And she's been really supportive in pushing. She was like, no, you need to do this, and it'll be a lot of fun, and you should try this. And yeah, that, like you said, that support is huge, and it kind of gets me back here every week. And I'm sure the same is, the support itself is kind of gets you out there. So, hey, but by the way, before we go any further, for those of you that are, patiently waiting, if you'd like to give us a call and speak with Jenn and Jess and myself all about, their podcast, the topic, Wheel of Time, if you have a question, you can give us a call at 1-313-825-5968. It should be on the screen. That's 1-313-TALK-WoT. And we'll look forward to your calls as they come in. Now, we did get some questions in chat. I thought I'd pose them to you, kind of take a little, fan break here. Okay. Tom DeSimone asked,
Hey,
Tom,
friend of the show,
exactly, friend of everyone, right?
Friend of everyone, friend of Wheel of Time, friend of Wheel of Time.
Tom's the best. Tommy's the best. I don't.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's some fun JordanCon stuff there. I don't know if you saw the picture. You were there this last.
Yeah.
You saw the painting that was done. Wasn't it this last JordanCon? Anyway, I'll have to ask him on Wednesday.
We're gonna have to circle back to that.
We're gonna.
He asked, which read through did you pick up? Oh, sorry, I should say spoilers for anyone that's concerned. Which read through did you pick up on Varen blatantly lying? Was that ever clear to you?
It wasn't, because of, and this is my moment at JordanCon and every moment since, when I found out that I did not pick up on it. My first read through, my second read through, it wasn't the fact that she was lying. I was telling you guys this in an earlier thing. It was the fact that she kept a pet owl in her quarters when she was giving Egwene the Terengrial. And she goes, oh, this is my pet owl. It's handy for pests. But I'm like, wait a minute. The White Tower has wards against, any sort of rats or pests or spoilage of grain or things like that. In fact, that was one of the things that undermined Elida's reign, is because those wards were breaking, and there were rats getting into the White Tower, and every sister's revulsion that for the first time in history there were rats in the White Tower. So why would rats, who are notoriously, as we have learned before this point in time in the books, friends of they're like little spies for the Lord of Darkness. Why would they be in Varen's room, and why would she need a pet owl? So that kind of, I picked up on that my second reread, not the things that she said so much. Yeah. That was my big moment. But the first time I read it, I didn't get that. I tweeted Sanderson actually and said it was the only time I've ever thrown a book in my life was that chapter where Varen took her tea, but not in a bad way, in a way of like, oh my God, just that aha moment. And I was able to, when I met Sanderson later, repeat the same thing. And at first, when I said I threw the book, his eyebrows shut up. But I'm like, not in a bad way, in a way that you really surprised me. So you wrote that very well. You and Jordan together. So
yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely took it for granted that Varen was. Well, you want to know what? No, that's not actually completely true. The first time I read through, when Varen and Alana were in the Two Rivers, and up to that point, I thought that Varen was pretty much chill. But then there was just something about the shit she was doing when she was in the Two Rivers. And I'm like, okay, hold up for a quick sec. What the hell? There's something going on here that isn't right. And so I think I don't think it was conscious, but there was a seed planted at that moment of, okay, there's some fuckery going on here. Yeah. And so then when he dropped the bomb, I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Of frickin' course. Yeah.
Right.
So it's sort of in that moment that everything coalesced and became completely clear. I had suspicions, but the realization didn't hit the first time through until like the big moment. So
what's funny for me, I know for sure the first time I read through the books, it did not hit. And there wasn't, when I first read through those, especially those first initial books, there wasn't online fandom at that point. And so there wasn't, I was just like myself, and it was it was an awesome book, and I love fiction fantasy. And so I read through it. Yeah. It wasn't until I got online and read the WoT FAQ for the first time and really started digging into theorizing and found a love of that I started looking, right? So it was the first time I started reading through the books where I looked at everything with a lens of a theory, right? There's a mystery here somewhere. And so then I started, so the first time I went through where everything was a mystery, that's when I noticed that, Varen handing the ring over to Egwene and then, this person that in my mind must have been Lanfear shows up, and why would these two things be connected? That's where I started. And then, it's not like that I haven't been wrong about a lot of the connections I've made. So that just happened to be one that I made, but just because I love the whole idea that Jordan kind of embedded all these little mysteries. So for me, it wasn't that first time. It really had to do with online fandom that really pushed me towards looking at everything with this kind of, what did he bury here and what is he trying to get me to ask? So, you know.
Well, and what I will say is that, you know, both times that I read through the books, I was not involved in the online fandom at all. So I was absolutely on an island with that. I had no idea about the community. I had no idea how many people love these books. No clue whatsoever. It wasn't until I screamed into the void and Jenn came to me like an angel vision that I even found out about any of this. But I will say that even when I started getting suspicious of Varen when she was in the Two Rivers, it never once occurred to me that she was Black Ajah. I was simply questioning her motivations.
Right.
Yeah.
I was questioning her motivations, but I never once suspected that she was Black Ajah. So, yeah, like I knew something was up. I didn't think it was that.
Okay, so another question from Sarah in chat. She said, what has been your favorite headcanon disagreement? Who was it with? And who was it about?
Unsure of the question. Disagreement between Jess and I?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine. Do you have a disagreement? You know, have disagreements shown up that are just kind of notorious between you two as far as you know who it's about and what it's with?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. I had never considered that. Because we don't reveal to each other what we're going to be talking about until each week, we're kind of surprised. But we have disagreed about a couple of things before. Help from. I know we have. We even talked about it. We've even said we're going to agree to disagree on this one. We've said it on air before.
There was one on Twitter. There's one on Twitter recently, and I should have looked it up. I meant to look this up.
We have disagreed.
And we have disagreed.
And then Jess is like, really? You think this? And that's part of the beauty of the podcast, because you get here on it. Huh, I didn't know you thought that. Best friendship.
There have been moments when it's sort of like, okay, podcast over. I cannot know this.
Well, it's so funny because I'm a Brown. I'm of the Brown, and I do. Right. I definitely kind of, when I'm listening, lean towards Jenn on this. And this disagreement you had on Twitter, now I need to know it. And after the show, I'm gonna go back and be pissed off that I didn't like remember it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so in agreement with Jess right now. Jenn's really, ticking me off right here. I don't know why Jenn's wrong, because she's normally right about this stuff, and this is
no, I'm not.
And now I'm gonna go back and find it. I'm gonna send you guys a tweet afterwards about this.
No, really great.
Well, I will say I honestly can't think of anything off the top of my head, which
they're just
I don't.
mind it.
I can't.
Oh, you know
remember
what it was? You know what it was?
What?
I remember. Shit.
What?
It was
What?
On the episode before last, I was talking about how hasty Rand is, and that he was acting so unlike his character. You go jumping up over the little wall in Kyrian and Lord Barthanas' manor to get to the Waygate, and he just was like, fuck it, I have Huron and Loyal with me, that's all I need. I'm going to try to find Padan Fane, and I'm going to pluck a Vendasora and just walk into the waves. And I said, that's so unlike the logical Rand we've seen up to this point. Like, Rand would actually be like, wait, I remember the trauma that I had the last time I went through the waves. I at least need a light source, which Jess was like, wait, he just could have channeled and made light. I'm like, but Loyal didn't know at this point, so he couldn't use sighting, I don't think. So I was like, you're just gonna fucking walk into the waves, bro? Like, you're just gonna do that without any preparation? Because it took them days last time. They had to eat food out of their saddles, right? And he was just gonna walk in with no light source into the pitch black waves with Huron and Loyal. I said that I don't agree with that. That's bad writing style. And then Jess was like, no, I think Rand was trying to show off and be a badass in front of his friends at that point. He was being a typical young man, and that's exactly what they do. So that was a disagreement. Also,
well, I also don't think that he had any intention of actually going in there. I don't know why I don't know why he opened it,
just to
except
show
for as a plot device, like they had to because of the whole Mashan Shin thing. But like, I don't think he had any intention that he was actually going to go in.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you always, like, you have to remember, at the end of the day, he's a dumbass teenager.
Well, that's the fun thing is Jordan didn't give us, and maybe that's maybe it's kind of a trope in fiction fantasy, but imagine if it was just a bunch of adults. I mean, they're annoying, but the fact
annoying.
The fact that these are younger, these are kids in many ways, and they're put into situations that are just absurdly, mature, right? Like, here's they're going to save the world in essence, and they're, Egwene, in the White Tower, and all the stuff that happens in the White Tower with Egwene, obviously, and Rand. I mean, anyways, I don't want to purposely spoil all these things for anyone that's watching, but yeah, like in the end, they're put in situations and they do stupid things. Like the obvious one that we all talk about is the lack of communication between them all. Just, it continues to drive me nuts. As I get older, it's just even more. It
gets worse. The older you get, the more you're like, pressure point. Hand to God.
Yeah.
A single freaking conversation. Could you sit down for 2 seconds, pull your finger out of your ass, and have a conversation with this person you've known literally your entire life? Literally your entire life, and you cannot sit down for 2 seconds and have an honest conversation?
Yes.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
I know the other thing, a much larger point of contention real quick, is I disagree with Jordan's writing style. I actually disagree with what Jordan did. I think it was a writing mistake, and I never say that about Jordan. When they went to studying Sofu, and the Ogier had human-built rooms for Rand and company, and they were waiting to speak to the elders, and they were led into the human-sized room inside the Ogier village. It wasn't to scale exactly. It was a little bit smaller than Ogier-sized rooms, but like they even go into Huron with his feet dangling off the chair, and that the dining room table came to Rand's waist, things of that nature. And I was like, the Ogier wouldn't have made a kind of to scale room to humans. Ogier were masons and stone builders and architects. That's literally all they did. Like, even if they hadn't seen a human for hundreds and hundreds of years and never been outside the setting, somebody's great-great-grandfather would have written down in a book the exact measurements that humans needed in order to make the rooms. Else what could they have gone on? So I was like, I think that was a mistake. I know that Jordan wants the reader to feel like these humans are overwhelmed in a big Ogier giant-sized village, but I think he spent too much time trying to make the reader feel small and diminutive instead of giving the Ogier credit. But Jess is like, come on, man, it's been hundreds of years. They haven't even seen a human in like generations. And they're trying to go from memory to build like what a human-sized table would be like.
You have a point about documentation, but everything got fucked up when they broke. They lost everything. They lost the setting. True. They lost everything. Yeah. Like, how are they still going to have that library? So, true. I mean, you make a point. I think you're wrong, but I love you.
I love you.
And by the way, I know people are pointing this out in chat that my video is frozen, so we're trying to fix it, but hopefully they can still hear me.
Okay.
And okay. Yeah.
We'll just keep on going. I'll just be in this really cool like pose the entire time as we're speaking.
You look extremely cool.
Yeah. At least you do. I guess it's better that it's not like my mouth is like wide open or something, and I'm like having
That's
a
true.
weird eye.
It could be so much worse.
It could be so much worse. So another question I saw from a user you might recognize, Daniel Green. He said,
boy, I'll see you later.
Which protagonist would you like to slap in the face most, and why?
Thank you, Daniel.
Oh, coming in hot with those good questions.
Everyone says Galad. I mean, come on, Galad's too easy though. We gotta just push past Galad and get to the real meat, because that's too easy. All right.
I mean, I frequently want to slap the shit out of Rand.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
But
I know. I have my answer.
But why? So
Gawain?
But
I don't want to slap Gawain so much as I want to throw him off a cliff.
Yeah.
But just go back to that. What is it about Rand? Like summarize
what
that.
Isn't it about Rand?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things, right? There's lots of reasons, but like if you had to like
open his mouth, I want to slap him.
If you had to narrow it down to like two things or one or two things, what would you say that just makes you want to slap Rand?
It's so for me, the whole going back to the lack of communication thing, like his complete inability to trust the people that have been closest to him. And I mean, I can understand to a certain extent, particularly with the whole Aes Sedai thing, and I mean, I could get into the whole like impact of trauma, PTSD kind of thing, that he was traumatized by Aes Sedai. He's going to mistrust Aes Sedai, and I get that. But Egwene isn't just Aes Sedai. He was going to marry her. Are you really telling me that every shred of feeling and trust that you had for this woman that you thought you were going to marry is so completely gone that you can't sit down and have an honest conversation with her? You literally are not capable of engaging your brain enough to look past her position, which, by the way, she was thrust into and is trying to make the best of, right? And kicking ass in the process, may I say. You can't look past any of that to sit down and have a civilized conversation to save the world.
Yeah.
You know what?
But so why do you think
get out of here?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess we could go deep on that as far as, why Jordan made that choice with him. And like you're saying, maybe there are some environmental, things here that we're not taking into account. But yes, that overall lack of piece of communication, just at least for me, continues to kind of grate on me sometimes, as I'm.
Well, and I think the other piece of the puzzle for me too is that it isn't just the lack of trust. I can understand the lack of trust. It isn't just the lack of communication. Miscommunication happens. It's his attitude. He's got this attitude problem that I'm just like, boy, I know that you're the dragon, but remember where you came from. Like, pull your head out of your ass.
Well, he does need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about Jen on your side? Was there one that you were saying?
Perrin. I just got, a queen to swear fealty to me, and everyone's raising this wolf head banner, and I just got the Shan to stop fighting with each other and help me out, and I just defeated most of the Shido that were left over. But I don't know why people are following me. I'm not worthy. Why are all these people coming up to me, people that I grew up with? They're forming a line to ask me, and I'm answering all of their questions, and my wife is telling me, Perrin, look around you. You're making people feel better just by being your friend. I don't know. I need to get underneath this wagon and start seeing if the wheel is working correctly. I'm a blacksmith. I don't understand. Should I follow the wolf dream? Should I not follow the? I'm like, you have thousands, tens and tens of thousands of people. He's like, burn the wolf head banners. Nope. Burn every single one. Burn them all. And I'm like, bro.
So, let's take Rand's ego, which, and I will probably get hate for this, but you want to know what? I said what I said. Don't at me. Let's take Rand's ego, which he has, that he hasn't particularly earned at this point.
Depending on which point.
And then, let's say at the point where we haven't gotten to the last battle, yeah. So, he has this whole ego kind of thing. Why don't we take that and transfer it over to Perrin, who's actually accomplished a lot and done a lot to move Rand's cause forward?
Yes.
Have a little bit of confidence in your accomplishments, my dude. Do you even understand what it is that you've done? That your dumbass friend who's supposed to save the world, he couldn't have done it without you because somehow you know how to do this shit. I mean, at least Matt's sort of what the hell is even happening in my life. At least that's funny. Maudlin and
Perrin's thank you. That is a wonderful word.
He's fucking maudlin. God.
There's
have a drink
and alliteration here. Listen to
have a drink, get laid, and just get over yourself, man.
Well, he does do that. But my thing is just, Perrin, you gotta pull yourself up, look around you, and noticing the ripple effects you're having through time. Thank you and goodbye. Yeah, that would be
thank you for coming to Jess TED Talk.
Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye, Perrin.
Good night and good luck.
One of the users said, to be fair, Egwene was just as stupid about reaching out to Rand, and I agree with that. There were
a couple of slappable times with Egwene as well, a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think Egwene can be done.
I mean, they both had opportunities to extend the olive branch, but
yes, and that was, oh man, I don't know, as an adult with kids now going back and reading the books. It's just a different experience. I love Moraine in so many ways that as a young teenage boy, I just wasn't there, like I definitely associated more with the young teenage boys in that moment, and even the young teenage girls in that, I'm much more associated with them versus, the Moraines of the world. There was something I always loved about Varen. I don't know what it is. Maybe she interacted differently with like Varen. Yeah, with Varen, even as a young, when I was younger, I don't know, maybe it's how she interacted with them as compared to Moraine and others. Yeah. I don't know. There was just something, I'll have to go back and kind of inspect that as I read through why I didn't feel the same way about her as I felt about other adults and how they interacted with the five. But as an adult now, yeah, the communication piece just grates on me for sure.
You know what I think it is? I think Moraine tried to push in a good way because she needed to. She's like, no, Rand, this is what you need to do next. You need to do this next. I know you don't want to, but here's the advice. You're not going to follow my advice. But this is what a person in your situation should do for the greater good. Yeah. Baron was just like, here's some logic. I'll meet you guys in a minute. Here's some logic. I'm going to say, this is what's going on. What are you going to do about it? And then she would sit back and let the boys make decisions until they got to a bad point where she had to intercede, which she did several times. She goes, okay, well, I'll intervene on the sly, but I'm never going to outright tell you things as far as from a logical standpoint, but I'm not going to be like, you really need my advice. Rand, you really need my advice. Yeah. Moraine just followed Moraine around. You need my advice. You need my advice. You need my advice. And you know how that works with a teenage boy going through that shit? As good as it turned out. Varen never did that. For
that matter, how well is that going to work with a 40-year-old me?
Yeah.
The best way to get me to not do something is to tell me that I should do it. So I mean, I feel that part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Moraine, come on. No, I can't push the boy, but that's exactly kind of what you did.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Moraine kind of let her sort of sense of urgency and desperation color her interactions with him
a little bit.
That she was trying to impart that sense of urgency onto him. And then, of course, being, first of all, obviously, we all know that the Two Rivers are very, very stubborn. But then also being a teenage boy who is just like his life motto is, "You're not my dad," is like the best. It goes two ways. The best way to get him to not do a thing is to tell him, listen, you need my help, and this is what you should do. That's the easiest way to get a teenager to be like, you know what? I do what I want.
Yeah, no, I'm like,
so by the way, Daniel asked.
He really did have a lot of dad issues.
Yeah, for sure.
So many. I mean, I feel bad for him. That sucks. But like
his whole life motto is "You're not my dad," and it literally, oh my god, Jess. Sorry.
So no, that's okay. I was gonna say Daniel asked for my who I would slap, and I think it would be Elaine. For me, Elaine is.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because I don't know. I don't. For me, there's always a pretentiousness to her that just grates on me. I don't know if it's from. I don't know if he just Jordan writes the kind of royal side of her really well or something. Yeah. But there's just something that Elaine, I never connected with her as a reader, and every time I kind of see her interactions, all I want to do absolutely is just slap her and move on.
I don't have.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Elaine is at a sender point. She's like, no.
Elaine is the daughter heir of Andor. She's raised to be a queen. So obviously there's going to be a certain tone in the way that she interacts with people. I don't even necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I don't think she lacks empathy. I don't think that she lacks communication skills. No. You know, the tone is potentially questionable and isn't always helpful. I think the thing that makes me want to slap Elaine just right upside the head, she's a freaking baby about everything. Piss and moan, bitch and complain. Girl, you are a grown-ass adult woman. If you do not want to drink goat's milk while you're pregnant, don't fucking drink it.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not drinking this. I'm having a glass of water. Kiss my pregnant ass. Like,
yeah, there's an oddity there.
You went on and on about the goat's milk a little bit.
Pouring it down your throat. If you don't want it, don't drink it.
Yeah.
Tell me to leave you alone.
Well, and I wonder if that's more. She is assertive, but then there is something. I don't know if it's left over, and Jordan just wrote it really well. Left over from how she was raised, and her. from her mother, maybe to her, nursemaid, if you will. Like she has to do certain things, but she seems to be really assertive in most other situations.
Well, I think she's written well, and we all despise her, I guess, a little bit for it. But I think it's good writing, is because who is Elaine always around? Let's think about who is Elaine's female characters that she is around, that she's paired with. Nynaeve, Egwene, and the
Aviendha.
Two Rivers crew, Aviendha. And who are those stoic, salt of the earth women who have actually experienced real life situations? And then you have Miss Daughter Heir of Andor thrown in, and she holds her weight as well as she can. But Jordan always has to write that distinct background differentiation between Nynaeve's personality, Egwene's personality, and Aviendha's personality.
Interesting.
And then, of course, she's going to be thrown as the most bratty, because who is she always paired with? Like maybe if Elaine was by herself or with other people that were of the nobility of Andor, which we have seen, she would appear much more refreshing. Yeah. But I think that's a writing contrast Jordan may have done on purpose to let you know this is the company she keeps.
That's and I think that you make a really good point there too. I'm just taking this whole thing over, so this is your life now. You make a really good point, Jen, I think, because she is assertive in matters of statecraft, diplomacy, all of these things that she was raised to do. But at the end of the day, she was the daughter heir. She was raised to do her duty. And she was bossed around all the time in private life. She was very well educated as to what she's supposed to do as queen. But in terms of actually like being an assertive, self-actualized person who does the things that she wants to do, that isn't really anything that she got to do because she was tailed by Linny constantly with proverbs out the ass. And, just the assertiveness that she puts forth in public doesn't translate to her private life because she was never even given the opportunity to be assertive in her private life. And perhaps her personality is not such that she would do it on her own.
Right.
Oh man, I never thought about doing kind of a character study of Elaine. I think maybe because I've just had an aversion to her, but now I kind of want to.
I mean, every single character is like an onion.
Welcome to the White Tower podcast.
We have a caller, and I want to bring Kayla into the call. Kind enough to wait for 6 minutes here. Let's bring her in.
Yeah, let's bring her in.
Hey, Kayla, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Hold on, I need to actually pause the video because I'm not.
No worries.
Too many things in my brain.
Hey, Kayla.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Jess.
Okay.
Hi,
so
come to my house, drink beer.
I'm the only one that doesn't know Kayla. Then, Kayla, who are you?
Hi, I'm the one that won karaoke with Jess at JordanCon this past year.
Awesome.
That's like how we met each other.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You were also a Matt Cawthon at the costume contest. Very good, Matt.
Great Matt Cawthon cosplay.
Now I have to go back.
Right. I didn't win, but
you did well.
I did almost break my Ashendari on stage. So there's that.
So what do you have to say? I mean, what's your question for Jess and Jen, or do you have a comment on kind of something that's been said already?
I don't know. So I feel like I've never had the chance to really honestly talk Wheel of Time with either Jess or Jen because, I mean, when we were at JordanCon, we were just kind of basking in each other's glory. I first read the series in 2017, and I was a little bit surprised. I'm just going to say it. I was surprised how many people totally fucking hate Rand. Because when I was reading it, my experience was that as Jordan was bringing us through this journey with Rand and all the other characters, that every step of the way, I was right there with him. I was like, fuck yeah, dude, balefire the shit out of that. And that even when I wanted to punch him in the face, I was still like, you know what? I see where you're coming from. So, like, not to be the person that's not critical of people, because I'm totally critical of Rand's choices and his decisions, but I feel like I'm a little bit kinder to him than Jess is, and we've had some good discussions in text about our disagreements.
Well, and I do want to say that, okay, first of all, I feel attacked. Kayla, how could you? I thought you were my friend. I thought you were my friend. No. I'm joking. But I mean, there are moments where I'm extremely angry with Rand, but when I am not angry with Rand, I do have a lot of empathy for him, because you want to know what? This kid went through some shit. Like I said before, when I was kind of going on my rant, we could dive into all of the layers of the effects of trauma and what it is like for people who have PTSD and how it makes them react to situations and things like that. Yeah. And I am acutely aware of that and have a great deal of empathy for it as a person who suffers from PTSD myself. So like, don't get it twisted. I don't actually hate him. Just sometimes I want to kick him right in the nutsack because he's
Well, for me recently with Rand, going back over the part where he's basically carrying his father, to Emond's Field, and this moment of where the world is just turned on him, and he's starting to question his own kind of identity and who is he, and does he, and it doesn't, for the first 10, 20 chapters of The Eye of the World, this is happening, over and over again. He's getting a little bit more information, Nynaeve kind of slips some stuff to him there. And this whole kind of first book to me does put Rand for me in kind of that, it's special corner of, he can be really annoying and stubborn and not do things that, like you said, like just kick him in the nuts, maybe that would be good. But in the end of the day, he, more than a lot of the others, I do. Yeah. I have a special love for Rand where I can't hate on him too much. I can hate on the choices he makes, but more so than Perrin and Mat and Egwene, the way the books begin and that first section to me is very much about how it's just he's questioning who he is, and that affects all the rest of the decisions that come to play here in the books. That's how I feel about him.
No, and I appreciate all of that, and I think as you were talking and I was kind of rolling that all around in my head, I think that what actually ultimately really frustrates me about Rand is the way he gets in his own way all the time. And maybe the reason that makes me really angry is because I get in my own way all the time too. So maybe I just identify with him more than I really want to admit. And that makes me extremely angry.
Comes out.
I appreciate that. That was a journey.
Kayla's like, I won.
You've been rumbled, Jess.
No. You rumbled me. So come to my house and I'll give you all the gear for this emotional breakthrough.
Well, Kayla, thank you so much for being willing to call in and for sharing this moment of Rand love and conversion on Jess's part. Really appreciate that. And hopefully you'll come back.
I will always be here to stand Rand when we need it.
Exactly. Hopefully you'll come back and watch the show. I really appreciate you watching, even if you just came to kind of chat with Jess and Jenn. Really appreciate it. And like I said, hope you'll keep watching and keep calling in and giving your comments. We love hearing new voices and getting new opinions on the Wheel of Time. And what's awesome is we have at least a year and more for the books. For the books to come out, for the television series to begin. So we'll be doing this. In perpetuity, and I guess until people stop wanting to talk about the Wheel of Time, which probably will never happen. So
strap in. You got 10 more years
at least.
Thanks, Kayla. We'll talk to you soon.
There are neither beginnings nor endings.
Thanks.
Bye.
Exactly. Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, that's Rand's one. He's fun to go back down and pick through all of the events and see them kind of, if you just pull everything else away and you just take that moment where you first meet him and then his father being healed and what he has to do because of that, right?
Not my dad.
Exactly, right. Well, there is a certain, at least now, I don't know, maybe I look at it from a father's standpoint now with Rand, and maybe that's why I kind of, I hold him there in this corner a little bit more. Before it was like I was a teen and it's like, yeah, life's tough and you're a teen or whatever. But yeah, I think there's something
life is tough for all teens.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Get over it. About the television series, I kind of want to turn towards the television series. I know I said to you, it's be about an hour show. Maybe we'll do another, 10 minutes or here and, and then let you all go. But the television series, I kind of want to touch on that before we end. How are you both feeling about it? And let me give some context here. I'm excited. So my wife and children who maybe are not huge Wheel of Time fans, I can actually sit down with them and watch the show. So that's part of what I'm excited about. Are you excited about the television series? Is there some trepidation there? Are you upset with some of the choices they've already made? Where are you both at? And maybe start with Jenn.
Bring it. I want all the content.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to give me more Wheel of Time content, even if it's something that, like, because I don't play God, I can't make all the decisions. It's somebody else's point of view. Technically, isn't that what I do? Don't I give my opinions and do things about the Wheel of Time that might not agree with everyone? So are they doing the same exact thing, but in the television sense, and a much broader, much more expensive scale?
I was going to say a much more well-funded.
Yeah, I mean, we work with what we have. Amazon has billions. I have, a few dollars, and
we have our patrons, and we love them.
Yes, thank you.
We love them very much.
So yeah, I mean, if it's another kind of retelling of the wheel, maybe it's not set exactly as some people would like it to be, but you're not going to please everyone. I'm excited for it. Good. You know what it gives us? More things to talk about on the podcast. Oh no, but more than that, I really want to see people that don't, like you said, read the books, maybe watch a television show, and good or bad, has some diatribe about that. Like, because I'm kind of going at that about that with the new Witcher trailer that just came out, because I've loved The Witcher for a hot minute now, and I'm like, ooh, like going to people, like even at my work, like, have you seen this new Witcher trailer that came out? And they're like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, whatever about it. I'm like, cool. Okay, maybe not you guys, but eventually I'll find someone out there that I could talk with about it. And
I'll be excited about it with you, because if for no other reason, I don't know anything about Witcher, but what I do know is that Henry Cavill can get it.
Yeah, I've liked him since he was Charles Brandon in The Tudors.
Yup.
That was like way before Superman, guys.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So
I noticed that jawline.
Hollywood did. So in a room full of jawlines. But yeah, no, I'm really, really excited. The fact that Rosamund Pike is Moraine, love Rosamund Pike.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
The fact that Daniel Henney is Lan, yay.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah.
Excited about
Speaking
that.
of jawlines.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, just nothing but positivity and happiness, and as far as that goes. And guys, how many people can say that they love a series of books, unless it's something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, or it's super popular like that? Yeah. But how many people can love books and have anyone, especially somebody as big as Amazon, be willing to spend that money and time and to make a TV series to see the things that you read about on screen? Like, even if you disagree, even if you think channeling should look this way versus, how many people can say that, guys?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an opportunity that most worlds don't get. And for myself, I am unreservedly, enthusiastically excited about this. I think it's going to be great. The folks who are running the show have been extremely forthcoming with information.
Yep.
I have not seen a single thing that makes me worried about the way they are going to handle this material up to this point. Knock on wood. Yeah, I haven't seen a single thing that has made me worried. Right. There are folks that are like, oh, well, they said this thing and it makes me worried. Well, you are reading stuff in that they did not say. And you're creating worry that should not exist. And, I'll be the first person to admit that I do not have the same level of emotional investment in the series that other people do, because it has not been a part of my life for as long as it has been for other people. So I don't want anybody to think that I am making light of that. But I guess just try not to get wound up about it. We don't have any reason to think that they're going to screw it up. Just don't get your blood pressure. Don't let your blood pressure go up over it until they actually screw it up.
Let's give them a chance.
Don't assume that they're going to screw it up. Assume positive intent,
Yep.
Be cautiously optimistic and don't get mad until they actually fuck it up. You know?
Yeah.
Well, let's before I give my kind of response to that, I want to. Desmond's been waiting on. Apparently, he might know you two, and this will be our last caller of the day.
Yay.
So let's bring Desmond in.
Desmond.
Hey, Desmond, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Good. This is my first time listening to you, Matt. So thank you, Jenn and Jess, for introducing me into a new YouTube series. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Jenn and Jess, thank you.
You're welcome.
So what comment
and
do you?
I hope you can hear me well.
We can.
Yes.
I'm out in the country, so my reception might be a little spotty, but I'm glad I can hear me. That's good.
Yeah.
So what comment did you have? Yeah.
Okay, so my question is very simple, but I hope it will spur a long conversation. Will Wheel of Time become the next Game of Thrones? I feel like there's a core of us.
So, look.
Love you, boo.
Simple question, complex answer. That's how I roll.
That's how you do.
So
I like to turn this around on
do.
callers, Desmond. So instead of how about you give us your answer? Is it going to become the next Game of Thrones? And then we'll respond to what you have to say.
Oh, you're flipping it around on me. Okay.
Gotcha, bitch.
There you go.
Well, to answer your question, especially to answer my question that you're now asking me.
No pressure.
The answer to that is I'm not sure, but when Brandon Sanderson sent out that tweet last week saying that he looked at everything, he was intentionally not trying to disclose too much.
Yeah.
And there were even people who were like, oh, well, he's lying, or there's some dumb person who said that ticked me off, but I'll get into that later. I think they're just trying to get negative attention. But honestly, if Sanderson Pie says that it's good, it's freaking good.
Okay, I like that. I like that answer. That's a good answer.
There was, and I'm going off on a tangent anyway. Enough about the tweet. I think it's going to be successful. I really like the casting choices. And when I say really like, I mean really freaking like. And I think this is going to, the actors in Game of Thrones, they weren't really known as hardly at all. I mean, I saw Marjorie Tyrell and some of the people who came over from Downton Abbey, some of the English actors. And I think that I have confidence in Rafe, absolutely. And I think he's got enough financial support where I think it could hit in stride and immediately have success like Game of Thrones did. Although Game of Thrones season 1 was a bit slow, and don't even get me started on season 8. But
yeah, I'm with you there.
We could have. Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones. Okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent and get started on that. But anyways, I think that it's going to have success, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that come into our fandom, and we're going to be like the OGs, sort of, a core of us who've been Wheel of Time fans for 20 years, and we're going to be telling these new people that, hey, you know what, you're fair weather fans, you didn't even know about this series, and there'll be some of that. But honestly,
no,
but
I can't wait. But
I don't know if it's.
I was just going to say I really appreciate this question, and it's because I have been in part of fandom for a while now, and I'm so excited. This feels like a new book or a new series coming out, right? But it's all the Wheel of Time that we've already read, but it somehow feels so potentially new and exciting. So I guess I'm at that level, and we're going to have to stay there for another year, a year plus, because we won't know. But I'm so optimistic. And it's probably just kind of fanboying on Wheel of Time as I always have, but I'm so optimistic because I really want this story. I want everyone, like we brought up, that won't pick up a 14-book epic series and won't read it to actually experience these characters. I'd love to be able to talk to my wife and have her actually know who Lanfear is. Because I always tease her because in her mind, Lanfear is a he in some other, like she has no idea, but I want to have the Lanfear conversation with her. I want to have the Varen conversations. I want these things to be out there in a more general way. So that I'm very optimistic that it's going to be there. Who knows? But that's where my brain's at when you ask that question.
Well, and I think that when you say, is it going to be the next Game of Thrones? the question is too broad. What is Game of Thrones? What does that mean? How are you defining it? Are you defining it by the fact that it was an incredibly successful fantasy series, kind of the first of its kind? Has there ever been another fantasy television series that has gained the level of popularity that Game of Thrones did? I'm not certain that there is, and if there aren't many. You know, are we talking about it being or are you talking about the part of it where it's a complete shit show because shit's going on behind the scenes and story things are getting changed arbitrarily and all of the other crap that went on,
based on
it,
not
so like what part are you talking about? If we're talking about all the shit show stuff, I hope not. If we're talking about it being an incredibly successful fantasy series that really kind of elevates not only the books but the genre, I hope so.
Yeah.
I think the Game of Thrones is going to be the Game of Thrones. I think no matter how popular, even if it supersedes Game of Thrones, people will be like, it's just trying to be Game of Thrones. I don't know. So Game of Thrones is its own. I don't think there could be any other fantasy thing that comes out that is going to be that, because people will be like, well, Game of Thrones was first. Well, Game of Thrones this. Well, Game of Thrones
okay,
that.
well,
so that's going to be its own thing in perpetuity for forever, no matter what the story is. So, I think it has the potential to, story-wise, because of just the amount of content there, 14 books versus how many, 6 or 7 or whatever. So there's double the amount of content that you could put on that could make viewers very interested.
Yeah.
So all of the building blocks are there. You have a big time production company. You have actors that seem to be invested in carry weight. You have just the general populace. They want more fantasy. Game of Thrones is gone. That's why the Witcher is picking up. That's why they're doing this. That's their response in a way. So of course there's that connection there. But you have all the potential there. I just don't know what it's going to become.
Yeah.
But I'm just hopeful that it could be at least on the same kind of reception level. And if it is, honey, you got a big storm coming. We're gonna have to strap in and put our big girl panties on.
Hold on to your butts.
It's gonna be crazy.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't know if we're all gonna be prepared for that, even if we want it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pretend like it's not gonna happen.
We're not gonna have a life. I'm not gonna sleep anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Desmond, thank you so much for calling. Really appreciate it. Appreciate that they've brought you to the Dusty Wheel. And again, this is the fun part about having people call in and just chat with us, live. It's a blast. And I'm really grateful that you were our last caller and that you ended with this note about the television series, because that's what we were talking about. And I kind of wanted to get there.
Yeah.
Hey, have a good one.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for
so
calling.
much for having me, Matt.
Yeah, we'll do. And
thanks,
please
do.
Please keep watching and call us back. We'll see you.
See you on Discord.
Yeah, exactly right. So to end the show, there's probably a lot we could sit here and chat about this, obviously, for hours.
Probably all night.
Yeah, we could.
Have us back on again.
Oh, well, that's for sure going to happen, right? As we get more news, I mean, oh my gosh, we have.
Look at me being subtle.
Well, we have
like
a whole like
baby.
what? Like my opinion is we're not going to see, and I've expressed this before in the show. I don't think we're going to see this until 2021 springtime. So, they're ending in May with production. I just can't imagine them throwing
post-production. I have to think is just going to be fucking bonkers because the amount of special effects they're going to have to do. I mean, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, I feel like, and they're going to want to do a lot of promotion of this beforehand. Mm-hmm. We're going to be getting more, I'm sure, as the 2020 is going to be huge, right? We're going to be getting so much more information. I'm sure we're going to get some clips. We're going to get more details, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'd be surprised. Yeah, I think March 2021. So we literally have like a year and a half to go. So there's a lot of build up here. So you're definitely going to come back on the show, right? We're going to be talking about this. But I wanted to tell you this. I wanted to end this way. When I went to JordanCon and we met very briefly, and I met, I think Daniel was there and WoT Spoilers was there. Honestly, it kind of like blew my mind because I hadn't really kind of watched too much in the podcast world of the Wheel of Time. And, maybe I just stuck in the theory forum area. And leaving JordanCon, I said to myself, like, that was what they're doing is so fun. I want to understand it. And, this kind of inspired me. So I wanted you both to know, like, seeing you at the JordanCon inspired me to make the Dusty Wheel happen here. This is not my gig, in live television, like staring out at a camera in live television. That's not what I ever imagined. Sitting on a forum, geeking out about theories for sure. So I just want you to know, part of, seeing you at JordanCon and the others, seeing what Daniel Green and Nablus are doing, it was just kind of gave me this, like, hey, why not? There's 7 billion people on the earth. Maybe some people will like this live call-in talk show. So I appreciate that you're willing to put your voices out there and be heard by your fans and have such unique takes on things. I love listening to your synapse. It's awesome. And
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted you to know that.
That's like
really
the biggest compliment ever.
Seriously,
bro.
that is so flattering.
That.
Like,
thank you. Wow.
It's like I'm gonna go hide under my desk now because this is embarrassment of praise. I can't process it.
Well, no, anyways, it's true. I have a problem on the voice, getting the voice out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem writing things and submitting them to forums, but listening to your voices, you guys are fearless and it's awesome. And I really appreciate that. And it pushes me to be fearless, or try to, I should say, on the show. So thank you. Seriously.
Well, you know what? And let me leave you with this piece of advice vis-a-vis being fearless about the things that you're saying.
You had to say vis-a-vis.
I did
once.
Yeah. You know me.
Go ahead.
If people don't like what it is that you're doing, but you like what you're doing and you feel like it's important and it's something that enriches your life, they can die mad about it. Find your voice. Speak your truth. Say what you want to say. People will inevitably tell you that they don't like what you're doing. And that's okay. They don't have to. And if they get real mad about it, they can die mad about it. Keep doing what you want to do.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I wanted to say thank you for that huge compliment. I'm kind of speechless, and I think you're more of a kindred spirit with us being Browns, and writing is what you said is something that you used to do, and kind of behind the scenes where your thoughts are more focused if you put it down on paper and you can structure. Whereas like being live, there's a more opportunity for a slip up or thinking back, like I know you probably do later, going, oh, I should have said this. Now I have but the more you said so the more you keep, and we're still babies, so like I told you at the very beginning today, I'm still myself, and I never stop learning, right? But it's the more you just kind of down, and I'm like, you know what, this is really how I feel. Choose something to talk about, like Wheel of Time. I'll be passionate. That passion's gonna come through, and it's gonna butt through whatever insecurity and whatever timidity you may be feeling, or at least it does for me. Because when I sat down, anything about podcasts, I never recording anything in my life. Like, you know what? I really want to talk about how crazy different this world is, what it meant to me, and how important I think fantasy and books and being able to express yourself creatively can be, and just rhapsodize about that, and it's gonna draw people in. And I think because of your eloquence, and I can already see it coming through, and the fact that you're extremely organized and know what you're doing here, you have the perfect foundation and support system to do that beautifully. So
this is why I do a podcast with you. You're beautiful, and I love you.
Yeah,
and that was great.
You both are.
And let me also say, you talk about fearless, and you do this live. Like Jen said, that's terrifying.
Terrifying.
And you do it live every time.
Yeah.
Don't
do live.
No, I edit.
We edit.
I actually don't edit that much. But don't sell your own courage short, because what you're doing is a whole other much scarier beast.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you deserve credit for that.
I appreciate that. I will tell you this, certainly, Jen, to your point, you can ask my wife and son. Takes about 3 hours after the show, and then I asking them like, was that cool? Did I say anything? Was that fine? So yeah, I'm hoping that eventually goes away, and I gained that. Yeah, exactly. So to both of you, I want to give you a last chance to shout out. Where can fans? Obviously, I know a lot of your fans are watching this, but anyone that runs into this video later on, where can fans of the Wheel of Time find you? And what? Obviously, we have the links down below, but where would you tell them to go?
Okay. So our website is whitetowerpodcast.com. That's just all the episodes. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That's at White Tower Pod. We have a really great Discord, and if you're nice and cool, we would love to have you there. You can find that at bit.ly/White Tower Discord. Obviously, you can find our podcast everywhere that fine podcasts are sold, whatever your app of choice is. And we also have a Patreon. So if you do listen and decide what you like, we certainly appreciate support. It makes it a little easier to make things happen. And you can find that at bit.ly/White Tower Patreon. We try to, it's been a rough couple of months, but we try to regularly provide some really fun, unique patron content there. So yeah,
awesome.
Come play with us.
Yeah, please do. All the podcasts, if you look at the Tor.com article, there are a lot of Wheel of Time podcasts out there. I've listened to many, and so far they're all fun and different and interesting. They all have unique voices. Go find them all, but definitely go check out the White Tower podcast. Jenn and Jess are amazing. And don't forget to come back Wednesday. We're going to cover the Amazon Prime announcement, whatever they make. This is their kind of once monthly on this Wednesday. Whatever the announcement is, live at that evening, we're going to come back, talk about that. And we're also going to talk about all the news that's come up before that. And we're going to have a special guest, Tom DeSimone. You both, I think, know him. He's awesome.
Amazing.
And we're going to have him. He's from the dragonmount.com. He does the fun stuff on the dragonmount.com YouTube channel. We're going to have him in and hear his reactions to that. So we hope to see everyone back then. One last time, Jenn and Jess, thank you for coming on. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And to everyone, thank you for watching, your comments, your calls. You're great. And to that we say goodbye and good night from the Dusty Wheel. See you guys. Bye-bye.